Today I am going to be making bone broth. I almost wanted to say today, like that cute little Carter. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out Cooking with Carter. I follow him on Instagram and he's adorable. Anyway, I digress. Today, bone broth. More specifically, today I am making chicken broth. You can do this basically with any bones. I have also bought some beef bones in the meat section at my grocery store. I think they call them stew bones, I think. Don't quote me on that. I've also made something similar with ham bones when we've had ham. I have the leftover of that. You could do it with turkey, any kind of bones. You can make some kind of broth and you get those nutrients from the bones. So if you ever have something like a whole chicken or turkey or whatever, just throw the carcass in the freezer until you're ready to make your broth. So what I most often do though is I get two rotisserie chickens and I pick all the meat off and everything else, all the goop and everything goes into my pot. And then what I do with the chicken that I pulled off is I divvy it up into different containers and put it in the freezer. And then I've got it to use. I have some cooked chicken on hand that I can use in other meals. And so I like that handiness. All right. So I got my bones in there and then I'm going to put in 8 cups of water. Now you can make bone broth on the stove. You can also make it in your crock pot. And an argument could be made that crock pot might be a little bit healthier because it's going to cook longer and you're probably going to get more nutrients. Instant Pot, it cooks for 2 hours, which seems like a long time, but compared to 12 or whatever it is for your crock pot, it doesn't take that long. All right. And the thing I like about this is I don't have to chop up a bunch of vegetables. I just took a whole onion and just cut it in fourths, skin on and everything, and that's going to go in my pot too. And then I have 2 celery stalks that I just cut in half, each one. I'll shove that in there. And then 2 whole carrots. I did peel them and then cut them in half. And they're going to go in there too. All right. And did I mention this is where the recipe's coming from? I like to give credit. This is my Instant Pot cookbook that I really like. So if you're looking for a good one, that is a good one. All right, I'm going to put in some of my dry ingredients. So it calls for 2 sprigs of rosemary, and I don't have fresh rosemary, so I'm just using dry, and I'm just going to put in like a teaspoon. Because when you're using dry, you don't need quite as much as fresh because it's a little more concentrated. And then I did have on hand, I actually had some fresh thyme, so I'm going to put in a couple sprigs of thyme. And you can use any seasonings you want. Or if there's seasonings that you don't like that I'm saying, don't use them. That's the nice thing is you get to decide what goes in. I like to have this on hand. Now I'm doing just some black pepper. I like to have, I think that's gone. I need to put that on my shopping list. I like to have this bone broth on hand. In my freezer. I put it in mason jars, put one in the fridge, the rest goes in the freezer, and then I have it on hand if I'm ever making anything that calls for chicken broth, or if I have a sick friend and I want to bring them a jar of broth, I do that. More often than not though, what I do is I drink on those days when maybe I do want a little something for dinner, I will just have a cup of broth, and that is good for me. I like that. All right, I'm putting in a teaspoon of poultry seasoning. Maybe. That's what will go in there. And then I'm putting in some salt. And again, you can always leave the salt out if you are trying to cut back on your salt. Salt, a teaspoon of that. And a couple of bay leaves. So like I said, this will cook for 2 hours, but It actually is longer than that because it takes time to get up to the pressure, and then about half an hour to come down. And then you're gonna drain it. Make sure you have something underneath your sieve that you're draining into. I did that once. I forgot to put something under there, lost all my broth. It was a sad day. All right, garlic. 5 cloves of garlic smashed. I just cheat. I like to make my life easier, so I use the jar. So 5 cloves, I'm going to put in 5 teaspoons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, and then the last thing I'm putting in is apple cider vinegar, and there's a tablespoon of that. All right, that's all going to go in. Now I'm going to kind of mix this up a little bit, put the lid on, and I'm good to go. So let me know if you enjoy making bone broth, or maybe you're inspired by this and decide you want to try it. Also, let me know what you think of Carter. See ya.